Peace, beautiful being. Welcome back to Ascension Books and Conversations. I am so grateful to be able to be here today. I am running late in all my plans. So we're going to be doing only 2 chapters today, which actually works out really well because these 2 chapters are their own section in the book. So we can just go deep into it. If anything calls to me in regards to reflecting, I will share that as briefly as I can. If this is your first time here, welcome. We are here together every Sunday, around every Sunday, and we go live here and we read together the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ by Levi H. Dowling. And we are already on chapter 36 today. So if this is your first time, I always like to tell people that you can find the book for free in a PDF down below in the description box. I also put all of the chapters in from all the previous videos in the description as well, so that if you miss a week, you can always come back easily. And this week I've been working on adding the chapters so that you can adding the chapters to the videos so that you can easily click and find where you may have left off. So we're going to be pulling the PDF up together. And to briefly go over last week, Jesus was in Nepal and sharing his perspectives and pretty much just sharing about humanity and carnal desires. And I honestly need to kind of go back myself to remember a little bit, but we're in a new section. It's section 7, and it's called Zane. And it's titled Life and Works of Jesus in Tibet and Western India. So we're going to start. Jesus in Lhasa. He meets Mengsti, who aids him in reading the ancient manuscripts. He goes to Ladakh, heals a child, relates the parable of the king's son. In Lhasa of Tibet, there was a master's temple rich in manuscripts of ancient lore. The Indian sage had read these manuscripts, and he revealed to Jesus many of the secret lessons they contained. But Jesus wished to read them for himself. Now Mengste, greatest sage of all the farther east, was in this temple of Tibet. The path across Emotus heights was difficult, but Jesus started on his way, and Vidyapati sent with him a trusted guide. And Vidyapati sent a message to Mengste in which he told about the Hebrew sage and spoke for him a welcome by the temple priests. Now, after many days and perils great, the guide and Jesus reached the Lhasa temple in Tibet. And Mengste opened wide the temple doors, and all the priests and masters gave a welcome to the Hebrew sage. And Jesus had access to all the sacred manuscripts, and with the help of Mengste, read them all. And Mengste often talked with Jesus of the coming age and of the sacred service best adapted to the people of the age. In Lhasa, Jesus did not teach. When he finished all his studies in the temple schools, he journeyed toward the west. In many villages he tarried for a time and taught. At last he reached the pass, and in the Ladakh city, Leh, he was received with favor by the monks, the merchants, and the men of low estate. And in the monastery he abode and taught, and then he sought the common people in the marts of trade, and there he taught. Not far away a woman lived, whose infant son was sick nigh unto death. The doctors had declared, there is no hope, the child must die. The woman heard that Jesus was a teacher sent from God, and she believed that he had power to heal her son. And so she clasped the dying infant in her arms and ran with haste, and asked to see the man of God. When Jesus saw her faith, he lifted up his eyes to heaven and said, My Father God, let power divine overshadow me, and let the holy breath fill full this child that it may live. And in the presence of the multitude, he laid his hand upon the child and said, Good woman, you are blessed. Your faith has saved your son. And then the child was well. The people were astonished, and they said, This Surely is the Holy One made flesh, for man alone cannot rebuke a fever thus and save a child from death. Then many of the people brought their sick, and Jesus spoke the word, and they were healed. Among the Ladaks, Jesus tarried many days. He taught them how to heal, how sins are blotted out, and how to make on earth a heaven of joy. The people loved him for his words and works, and when he must depart, they grieved as children grieve when mother goes away. And on the morning when he started on his way, the multitudes were there to press his hand. To them he spoke a parable. He said, a certain king so loved the people of his land that he sent forth his only son with precious gifts for all. The son went everywhere and scattered forth the gifts with lavish hand. But there were priests who ministered at shrines of foreign gods who were not pleased because the king did not, through them, bestow the gifts. And so they sought to cause the people all to hate the son. They said, these gifts are not of any worth. They are but counterfeits. And so the people threw the precious gems and gold and silver in the streets. They caught the son and beat him, spit upon him, drove him from their midst. The son resented not their insults and their cruelties, but thus he prayed, my Father God, forgive these creatures of thy hand. They are but slaves. They know not what they do. And while they yet were beating him, he gave them food and blessed them with a boundless love. In certain cities was the son received with joy, and he would gladly have remained to bless the homes, but he could tarry not, for he must carry gifts to every one in all the king's domain. And Jesus said, my Father God is king of all mankind, and he has sent me forth with all the bounties of his matchless love and boundless wealth. To all the people of all lands, lo, I must bear these gifts, this water and this bread of life. I go my way, but we will meet again, for in my fatherland is room for all. I will prepare a place for you. And Jesus raised his hand in silent benediction. Then he went his way. Chapter 37. So, am I frozen? Dang. Dang, it says on my side that I'm frozen. Oh no. What happened? You can still hear me though, right? But you can't see me? I wonder what happened. Hold on one second. Dang, I don't know what happened. My phone locked itself or something. Okay, well, we back. We in here. We in here. At least you were able to hear me. So at least you were still able to hear the story. And I don't have to repeat myself. Okay. So dang. Oh wow. So one thing that I kind of got from that was yay. One thing I got from that was when I first was reading the beginning part, I kind of started to think about Robin Hood when I was thinking of Jesus, because he went to Tibet to gain this knowledge and this wisdom, right? But then as he's traveling, he also is so aware of what his purpose is and who he's supposed to minister to, which is everybody. Because at the time, the priests, the Jewish priests believed that they were the only chosen people and that they were the only ones who could have access to this wisdom. And even in India, and they had their own hierarchies as well, and people who were given the wisdom and people that weren't. And so it kind of made me think of Robin Hood in the sense of he's receiving all these gifts through wisdom and then sharing them with the merchants and sharing them with the lower people of lower estate. And he knew that's part of what he was here to do, because he was here to, what people believe, save everybody, which is kind of in a sense true, but it's more so enlighten everybody rather than save them, so that you can have the power to save yourself. Because even in this story and in a lot of the parables, or no, a lot of the stories that were in the New Testament about Jesus and his healings and his teachings, he he would always heal people, like even with Lazarus, and he was risen from the dead. But it was only when he was around those who had that faith in him. And that's what really distinguished his miracles, even in this space, in this story, because if that the woman was the one who had faith that Jesus would be able to heal her child. And he even told her that her faith was what saved the child, because all Jesus did was really call upon his source, which was Father God, and ask to be a vessel in order to heal this child. But it could still not have happened if that woman didn't have any belief in his abilities or his connection to source. So, and they were able to do this in the witnessing of others were witnessing this when it happened too. And so this is kind of the beginning of his healings and being able to show that um, we have abilities outside of what we may be taught or what we may know about ourselves. And it says that even after that, he stayed with them and he taught to them how to heal and how to blot out sins and how to do these things, so that when he went on his way, that these people had the wisdom to live a new life and live differently, with different perspectives. And so I thought that was great. Also in the parable, he's sharing like a prediction of what's going to happen when all the people start to believe in him, but then the priests make the people turn against him and beat him and make him not be someone that can be followed anymore. And he ended it with that prediction because it seems like he always kind of knew like his life path. Yeah, we'll move on to the next chapter because I think that was pretty much all that I got from it. But if you got anything, feel free to share. All right. But he does end it with verse 35. He does end it and says, I go my way, but we will meet again, for in my fatherland is room for all. And he also is teaching them how to bring joy and that divine light into creating heaven on earth here. And he also knows that there will be a time when we will be reunited in harmony and a space of all of us being enlightened with this wisdom and ability to live together. And thus he moved forward. So we'll move to chapter 37. Jesus is presented with a camel. He goes to Labor, where he abides with a Jainan whom he teaches. Lesson of the wandering musicians. Jesus resumes his journey. A caravan of merchantmen were journeying through the Kashmir Vale as Jesus passed that way, and they were going to Labor, a city of the hand, the five-stream land. The merchantmen had heard the prophet speak, had seen his mighty works in Leh, and they were glad to see him once again. And when they knew that he was going to Labor and then across the Sind through Persia and the farther west, and that he had no beast on which to ride, they freely gave to him a noble Bactrian beast, well saddled and equipped, and Jesus journeyed with the caravan. And when he reached Labor, a Jainan and some other Brahmic priests received him with delight. A Jainan was the priest who came to Jesus in the nighttime in Benares many months before and heard his words of truth. And Jesus was a Jainan's guest. He taught a Jainan many things, revealed to him the secrets of the healing art. He taught him how he could control the spirits of the air, the fire, the water, and the earth. And he explained to him the secret doctrine of forgiveness and the blotting out of sins. One day, a Jainan sat with Jesus in the temple porch. A band of wandering singers and musicians paused before the court to sing and play. Their music was most rich and delicate, and Jesus said, among the high-bred people of the land, we hear no sweeter music than that these uncouth children of the wilderness bring here to us. From whence this talent and this power? In one short life, they could not gain such grace of voice, such knowledge of the laws of harmony and tone. Men call them prodigies. There are no prodigies. All things result from natural law. These people are not young. 1,000 years would not suffice to give them such divine expressiveness and such purity of voice and touch. 10,000 years ago, these people mastered harmony. In days of old, they trod the busy thoroughfares of life and caught the melody of birds and played on harps of perfect form. And they have come again to learn still other lessons from the varied notes of manifests. These wandering people from a part of heaven's orchestra, and in the land of perfect things, the very angels will delight to hear them play and sing. And Jesus taught the common people of Labor. He healed their sick and showed to them the way to rise to better things by helpfulness. He said, "We are not rich by what we get and hold. The only things we keep are those we give away. If you would live the perfect life, give forth your life in service for your kind, and for the forms of life that men esteem the lower forms of life." But Jesus could not tarry longer in Labor. He bade the priests and other friends farewell, and then he took his camel and he went his way toward the Sind. Chapter 37. And that's the end of section 7 as well. Not much to really reflect on from this, in my opinion. Just that he said it straight to the point, and sometimes Jesus speaks very poetically. He'll look at life, and look at nature, and look at earth, and he'll reflect on where those things had come from, based on nature and based on natural law, and how these things are formed and created, and sometimes likes to just share those teachings to others through that. And I love the way this book progresses too, because from my perspective, I see a lot of things that we see today. So Jesus was sharing how to heal these people and how to heal the sick, but he also lived a vegetarian lifestyle and he was an SME, and that's how he grew up. And so part of what I love about Jesus in this book is also it shows kind of a more unified sense of Jesus in earth and Jesus in nature and Jesus in the beasts of the earth that we tend to see as lower than. And he is always an advocate for bringing in that harmony, that unity consciousness, that oneness. And so I really love that it's kind of just sprinkled in there every once in a while. And the way that he speaks about music and how we found harmony thousands of years ago through our own connection with the birds and nature, and us tuning into the same frequencies that allowed us to live in unity and coexist in that harmony and create what is now music, is beautiful. But yeah, and now he's going to find his way to Persia, which is where we will continue next week with the chapter 38. And yeah, we're only here for 20 minutes, and that's still longer than I thought it would be. So thank you for joining today. I hope that you were able to receive something to reflect on. And as always, feel free to go back into the other chapters if you missed it. Also, you feel free to read on along and maybe have something to share next week based on your reading throughout this week. But as always, thank you for being here. If you resonate, please don't forget to subscribe and share the video with anybody that may learn something from this as well. Have a beautiful rest of your week. I send you all my love and peace.